culture, but we're going to see how the Greeks came to be and talk about some pretty awesome things. Like, what do you guys think's going on in this picture right here? Tom's just scratching his head. He's like, I have no idea what's going on in that. Well, we'll get to that. It's pretty cool. All right, so here we see Greece as a whole. Of course, our Greek city-states, we've got all of these right here, all these islands. We've got Crete. And we're going to be focusing on the island of Crete today, all right? The island of Crete today. Now, you don't have to write anything on this slide right here. This is just a quick timeline to give you an idea of where we're sitting in history. So we think it was around 6000 BC that we have the first farmers in Crete. This is going to be like before history, though. So that's our guess. And we think it took about 4,000 years, but around 2000, we're going to have some palaces. And it's really interesting because that 2000 BC, that's when we see a lot of different things happening in the world civilizations. So it's pretty cool. But we know that this doesn't last long. For about 300 years it lasts, but then there's a giant earthquake and those palaces are going to be destroyed. They're going to rebuild them. But then we have a new group, the Mycenaeans, who are going to be in the Balkan Peninsula. They're going to come and conquer Crete. Now, around the same time, we're going to have a huge volcanic eruption. And this is going to be crazy. So there's this island, Thera, and it looked like a regular island. The volcano explodes. So now when we see the island of Thera today, it looks like a sea because there's this huge chunk missing, and it has this huge tidal wave that wound up going and flooding and destroying Crete. The palace at Knossos and other places are gone, and then the Minoans, they disappear around 1100. So there's a timeline of what we're going to be going through today. So, like I said, we're talking about the island of Crete. Now, they, although are going to be the first people in this area, are not going to really be the people we consider Greek, and that's because they didn't speak Greek. They had a language called Linear A and then Linear B, and that's just from different time periods, and we don't really fully understand it completely. Now, they lived on this island of Crete. They've got mountains all over. So what do we think their main way of making money is going to be? What do we think their main way of making money is going to be if they're on an island, it's covered with mountains? What do we think, guys? Trading, yeah, Cortez, thank you, sir. They're going to do trading. They're going to hop on boats and they're going to get most of their food from the sea, so they're going to have lots of fish, and they are going to go and get money from trading. So they become awesome at shipbuilding, awesome traders, just like we have with our Greeks later on. And of course, things that they're going to trade, the most important thing is going to be olive oil and wood, because they've got lots of trees. And they're looking to get copper, gold, silver, and jewels. So they're trying to get precious metals so they can make fancy things, and they're trading their olive oil for it. All right, moving on. Here we see an artist rendition of what we think the Palace of Knossos looked like. Here are some things that we've recovered, some amphoras. Here's another artist rendition. So you might have heard of King Minos before, and yeah, he was Minoan. And it's pretty cool. This was all hidden under dirt, and then we discovered all of these ruins. Here's what it looks like today from the air. So we see there's a pretty huge complex. You don't have to write any of this anyways. It's just the guy who excavated it. And so what's cool is under here, we find a huge labyrinth. Does anyone know what a labyrinth is? You know what the word labyrinth means? Yeah, giant maze, exactly. So under this palace, Sir Arthur Evans finds a maze. And this is one of these things where so much of history is trying to just figure out what's going on. And it's actually really similar to mythology because the Minoans make this maze. And we're going to find the Mycenaeans are going to come up with a myth about it because they're like, why would there be a maze under a palace? And then the only logical answer to why there'd be a maze under a palace is because they had a monster in there, right? I mean, it makes perfect sense because you don't want the monster to get out, so you put him in a maze. And so this is how we're going to get the myth of the Minotaur, which we're going to talk about. I think we're talking about that tomorrow. I can't remember, to be honest, if it's on today's slides or tomorrow's. Now, I think it's tomorrow's. You don't have to write this, but we've got columns, we've got beautiful frescoes. So this is really cool. You can go there today and see it. See the dolphins so we can see what kind of animals they observed. Throne room. Throne does not look very comfortable being a big stone seat. Hopefully they gave him some cushions. Although Kadira's like, I'd still be king and rule on that. And here, once again, we see these crazy pictures. What is going on here? And so what this is bull leaping. It was their favorite sport. Okay, so this is pretty cool. So they would go and have a bull. And they would make the bull super angry, all right? Like they would go and like poke it with an arrow in the neck. And it would cause it to charge. And then on the other side there, they would have Jason. So we've got bull here, which is really mad. We've got Jason here. They make the bull mad. The bull starts charging. And what Jason would do, this is so cool. He would go, when the bull's right about to go get him with his horns and turn Jason to a Jason kebab, Jason would jump up, grab the horns, and flip over the bull. And that was their favorite sport, bull leaping. Isn't that cool? So, now let's think about this, though. They see a huge maze. The Greeks then go and see all of these pictures of bulls everywhere. So their conclusion when I said, well, obviously the only reason to have a maze in your basement is because if you have a monster. And then they're like, well, all these bulls, I bet this monster was half man, half bull. And so this is, we see how the Minotaur myth is coming to being, because mythology is a story to explain what you're seeing. Now, today we have scientists like Zoe who are able to go and, research and figure things out. But back then they only had their eyes, so they can only go and see what they see. So when Shania goes and sees this maze, she sees these bulls. She's like, obviously there was a half man, half bull monster in this maze. And then Jackie's like, well, what do you think they would eat? And then obviously the only correct answer for a half man, half bull monster would be children. Because, what else would taste so delicious? And so we see how this myth is going to wind up coming to being. And like I said, we're going to talk more about this myth later on tomorrow. So that's actually going to be it for our notes today. I'm going to stop the recording. Do we have